Welcome back. For Hillary Clinton, this was to be a week to stretch the map and to look for a mandate. By stretch the map, I mean this. Secretary Clinton still planning to go to Arizona on Wednesday, but they'll keep that trip despite the big FBI news because they don't want to look like they're panicking. But after that, look for more crisis management, more of a fire drill. Why go to Arizona at all? Well, the Clinton campaign does think it has a chance to change a state to blue that has been reliably red for a long time, so she will go out there and campaign. For the rest of the week, though, look for a focus up here, down here, and in North Carolina. Why? Hillary Clinton wants to protect the blues and block Donald Trump. One issue for her as we go forward. Watch this data as we get later in the week here. The early days of early voting, a bit of a problem for the Democrats. For the most part, they're happy in the battleground states, but this is a sign perhaps of an intensity issue. Among African Americans, early voting down in North Carolina from 2012, down a bit in Georgia from 2012. Down a bit in Florida. 2008 is the only year we can make a comparison to. Down a bit there. Now, there are some reasons for this, and Democrats say they hope to make that up this week. But let's see, when we get to the end of the week, are these numbers improved, or does Hillary Clinton have an intensity turnout problem with African Americans? That's a big question as she tries to do this. Yes, she still wants to go out and try to change Arizona. It's one of the toss-up states. Yes, she still hopes to win Nevada. But this is the focus. Win Florida, win North Carolina, try to win Ohio. That's why you're going to see not only Secretary Clinton, but the president, the first lady, the vice president, Tim Kaine, focusing on these toss-up states and then in these other blue battleground states. Hold the blues, win a toss-up, block Donald Trump. That is priority one. Hillary Clinton says yes, she's being tested right now, but that's okay.
Everyone is knocked down in life. And as my mother taught me and showed me, what matters is whether you get back up. And those of us who are people of faith know that getting back up is part of what we are called to do.
You see Secretary Clinton there. Whether you like her or don't like her politics, you do have to tip your hat to her resilience over the years. She doesn't quit and she doesn't give up. The question here is, she's in an African-American church there in North Carolina. The early voting numbers. Overall, the Democrats are reasonably happy. But you do see some pockets of problems. Cuyahoga County in Ohio, they're worried about African-Americans. I showed you the other states there, they're worried about African-Americans. Now, they would say there are fewer days in Ohio so far to early vote. There are fewer places in North Carolina so far to early vote. So they think there are reasons why the numbers don't match up yet. But the big test will be as this news settled in over the weekend, and they had a lot of these Souls to the Polls events in the churches. What do the numbers look like at the end of this week, I think, or the middle of this week will tell us a lot.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that we had the Congressional Black Caucus, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, both doing calls over the weekend to send out the same message that the Central Campaign was making about calling on Comey to give us more information about this probe. They've been very aggressive with their surrogates in minority communities. It's been a question all along this race of whether she could replicate President Obama's performance with African-American voters. There has been evidence, we looked at this earlier just a month or two ago, that, there support for her, but just not the same level of enthusiasm. You talk to a lot of leaders in the community, they say the same. And
one of the leaders of the community who's going to try to help her this week happens to be the President of the United States. He lives and works in that building behind us for 80 more days. At the next hour, there's going to be a White House briefing, the first White House briefing on camera since this news broke. It'll be fascinating to see what the White House press secretary, speaking for the president, says about what he thinks about James Comey's decision. So we're going to get that in the next half hour or so to the hour, and then the president's going to hit the road. And the president made a phone call to activists yesterday saying, look, there are always distractions at the end. He wasn't specific, but he said there are always distractions at the end. Look where he's going to be. He's going to be in Columbus, Ohio tomorrow. Then he's going to go to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Then he's going to Miami and Jacksonville, Florida. Then he's circling back to Fayetteville and Charlotte, North Carolina. Folks, you don't need to be a rocket scientist. Look at the map. Look where the president's going to understand the Electoral College chess underway. But the president's in an interesting box here, because is he going to throw, the FBI director serves a 10-year term. He's not loyal to any one president. But is the president, through his spokesman, in 15, 20 minutes or so, going to throw Jim Comey under the bus?
Doubtful. I mean, this is his hire, and I guess he's been on the job 3 or 4 years. He's got remaining years on his tenure. They have a real delicate balance here. You saw him, I guess, on Friday. He was at a rally, obviously didn't say anything about it. You imagine they are crafting what they're going to say. At this point, I do think, in terms of the African-American vote, it is not going to be the same, right, this go-round as it was in in 2008 or 2012. But what you've seen, I think, is that Clinton has a much broader coalition. As we talked about college-educated white women and white men, she's doing very well among older voters as well. If they are relying on African-American voters to turn out in those same ways, or even Latinos, or even young voters, they likely aren't going to win this. That's why they have such a broad outreach to Republicans, even, because they see a different coalition.
John,
And
watch for the president to try to reframe this issue, this debate, essentially away from James Comey, and talk about this being a choice between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, lay out his problems with Donald Trump, and try to skirt going after James Comey, because it does put him in that political box. He wants to make it, say, look, these things are distractions. Let's focus on what the real choices of voters are. It's a choice.
Well, and he also is motivated. The president is also motivated to downplay some of this, because in some of the emails via WikiLeaks and via the FBI investigation, we find that he was emailing her at this server and knew that he was doing it, or knew that this was not a .gov address. So I'm sure he's like, this is not a real story.
Well, I think the real question that we have about how the administration responds to Comey is less the president and more his actual boss, Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General. I mean, she's the one there's been a lot of reporting that senior Justice Department officials told Comey, don't do this. It goes against department protocols and longstanding practices, and yet he did. So she is actually his boss. However, as we know, she's a little compromised in this
Because of Bill Clinton.
who
Right.
saw the need to go and have a chat about his grandchildren on her plane.
You saw Eric Holder come out, right,
Yeah.
in that op-ed for the Washington Post and essentially say, listen, Comey's a good man, but made a mistake on this one.